Give it back!" Amanda shouted, her voice echoing through the empty halls of Prince Memorial High. Rain pounded against the windows, loud and steady, matching the wild beating of her heart. In front of her, 3 girls laughed as they tossed her school bag between them. Books and papers spilled out, landing on the wet floor. "What's wrong, ugly princess?" Simi teased with a smirk, throwing the bag to Langi, who held it out over a puddle of muddy water. Amanda rushed to gather her scattered belongings, but Amora stepped in her way, blocking her with a foot planted firmly on her math notebook. "Stop it! My assignments are in there," Amanda cried, reaching for the notebook. Amora only laughed, dragging the notebook through the muddy water, ruining the careful work Amanda had spent hours on. "Oh, worried about your little perfect grades," Simi said with mock sweetness, stepping closer. Her voice dropped to a harsh whisper. "You've been here 2 weeks, and you still don't get how things work, do you?" Thunder rumbled outside, shaking the windows. The hallway seemed darker now, even though it was still daytime. Amanda's chest tightened as something strange filled the air, heavy and tense, almost like the storm was inside the school with her. "I've learned plenty," Amanda said, her voice shaky but firm. Anger bubbled up inside her, breaking through her fear. "You're just pathetic bullies who?" The slap came out of nowhere. It struck her cheek hard, leaving it stinging. Amanda stumbled backward, hitting the cold, wet wall. Pain burned on her face, and her uniform was now a mess, splattered with mud and soaked with water. The girls laughed louder, their voices cutting through the storm outside. "Pathetic," Langi mocked, dropping Amanda's bag straight into the puddle. Water splashed everywhere, soaking her legs. "Look at yourself, Miss Perfect. You think your grades or your big words mean anything here?" Lightning lit up the hallway, a sharp, white flash that made the shadows jump. Amanda froze as something strange stirred inside her, deep and warm, like a spark trying to catch fire. It wasn't fear anymore. It was something else, something that made her fingers curl into fists. "You think I'm pathetic?" Amanda said, her voice low but steady now. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but from the strange feeling growing inside her. Simi grinned and grabbed Amanda by the arm. "Let's show her what real bullying looks like," she said with a cold laugh. It all blurred after that, shoves, cruel laughter, and the splash of her bag hitting the muddy ground outside. Amanda stood in the rain, her uniform soaked, her hair sticking to her face. Around her, the ruined pages of her assignments floated in dirty puddles. The girls circled her like wolves, their voices sharp and mocking. Amanda wanted to cry, but the storm around her wouldn't let her. The rain hit her skin like tiny needles, but the strange warmth inside her grew stronger. The air felt charged, alive with energy, like the storm was waiting for something. "Those who cause pain must bear it threefold." The words appeared in her mind, unspoken but clear. They felt ancient, powerful, and deeply familiar, even though she didn't understand them. Her tears mixed with the rain as the warmth spread through her, steady and unstoppable. The fear was gone now, replaced by something stronger. Amanda lifted her head, her wet hair falling away from her face. The girls laughed, but she didn't hear them anymore. As Simi raised her hand to strike again, Amanda didn't flinch. She didn't move. The warmth inside her surged, and the words she didn't fully understand rose to her lips. The storm roared louder, and the world seemed to pause, waiting for what would happen next. The next day at Prince Memorial High started worse than Amanda could have imagined. As she entered the classroom, she stopped in her tracks. Her desk was smeared with muddy footprints, covered in scraps of garbage. "Oops," Simi said with a smirk, lounging in her seat. "I thought that was where the trash belonged." The class burst into laughter, loud and cruel. Amanda stood frozen, her face burning with humiliation. But then, something strange happened. Mid-laugh, Simi suddenly winced, her hand flying to her temple. Her laughter turned into a low groan, and she squeezed her eyes shut like she was in pain. Amanda watched, confused. The memory of the previous night flashed in her mind, her whispered wish as she cried into her pillow, "I wish they could feel my pain." During mathematics, Langi took her turn. "Sir," she called out, her voice loud enough to stop the lesson. "Amanda is copying my work." Amanda's head whipped around in shock. "I didn't," she began, but it was too late. The teacher strode over and snatched her paper. His frown deepened as he scanned it. "These answers are identical," he snapped. "And wrong." Amanda's stomach dropped. Someone had switched her paper when she wasn't looking. "But I didn't," she tried again. "Enough. Detention after school. And 0 marks for the test." His voice was final, slicing through her like a blade. Amanda slumped in her seat, her fist clenched tightly in her lap. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw Langi grinning and exchanging a triumphant high-five with Amora. But before the smirk could settle on her face, Langi's hand began trembling violently, spilling her pen onto the desk. She quickly hid her hand under the table, her expression turning nervous. Amanda frowned. This wasn't normal. At lunch, the torment didn't stop. Amanda's food tasted off the moment she took a bite. She coughed and spat it out, the taste of salt burning her throat. As she rushed to the water fountain, someone stuck out a foot, and she stumbled forward, crashing to the ground. Her water bottle flew out of her hand, soaking her already ruined uniform. "Oh, did Princess forget how to walk?" Amora teased, doubling over with laughter. But then, mid-laugh, she suddenly grabbed at her throat, her eyes wide with panic. She gasped, her face reddening like she couldn't breathe. The entire cafeteria froze, watching her. After a few moments, she coughed loudly and waved it off like it was nothing, but Amanda caught the fear in her eyes. As Amanda cleaned herself up, David, a quiet boy from her class, handed her a sachet of water. "Here," he said softly, his kind smile breaking through the grey of her day. "Don't let them get to you." Amanda managed a small smile in return. "Thanks," she whispered. The simple gesture felt like a lifeline. That evening, alone in her room, Amanda opened her diary. She wrote with shaky hands, "I wish they could feel what it's like to be helpless." She didn't notice how the ink shimmered faintly before fading into the page. The next day, things got weirder. Simi walked into class looking pale and exhausted. By mid-morning, she was gripping her head, unable to focus. Her headaches had grown so intense she had to leave for the nurse's office. Langi dropped her books repeatedly, her hands shaking so badly she couldn't hold anything steady. And Amora couldn't stop rubbing her chest, like she was struggling to breathe. Amanda noticed it all. The pattern was undeniable. Every time she wished for them to feel her pain, something happened to them. She should have felt relief or even satisfaction, but instead, it left her uneasy. "Hey," David said quietly later that day, passing her another sachet of water. "My grandma used to say some people have special gifts. Their words carry weight, especially when they're hurting." Amanda blinked at him, unsure of what to say. Was that what was happening? She didn't know, but that night, she flipped back through her diary. Every wish she had written about the girls had come true. Her heart raced as she traced the shimmering ink. Then her phone buzzed, pulling her from her thoughts. The message made her stomach drop. Simi had been rushed to the hospital. The headaches were so bad she couldn't see straight. Amanda stared at her reflection in the window, her face pale. Could her anger, her pain, really have caused this? If it could, then what else was she capable of? The thought sent a chill down her spine. She didn't have time to dwell on it, though. Tomorrow would bring more torment from Amora and Langi, and Amanda had no idea if the storm inside her was done growing. With Simi in the hospital, the tension at Prince Memorial High only grew worse. Langi and Amora's anger boiled over, and they focused all their hostility on Amanda. Though they couldn't explain why, they blamed her for what had happened to Simi. During break time, David approached Amanda once again with his quiet kindness, handing her a sachet of water. "Stay strong," he said softly, his eyes searching hers. "There's something different about you. I can feel it." Amanda hesitated, wanting to ask what he meant, but before she could speak, Langi stormed over, her footsteps heavy with fury. "Look at you," she sneered, her trembling hands clenched into fists. "Making friends now? Do you think you're settling in here?" Her voice rose, sharp and venomous. "You pay for what you did to Simi." Amanda's heart raced. "I didn't do anything," she replied, her voice trembling. But the look in Langi's eyes made it clear, reasoning with her was pointless. That night, Amanda opened her diary, her mind heavy with questions she couldn't answer. Her pen hovered over the page before she finally wrote, "I don't understand what's happening. Every time they hurt me, something happens to them. Am I doing this somehow?" As the words dried, the ink shimmered faintly under the glow of her desk lamp. The next day, the strange events continued, growing more bizarre with every passing hour. Langi, in her latest attempt to shove Amanda in the hallway, lost her balance and crashed to the floor instead. Her legs buckled under her, trembling uncontrollably. Amora snatched Amanda's lunch in the cafeteria and mockingly took a big bite, only to start choking violently moments later, gasping for air as students panicked around her. Even those who joined in the cruel laughter weren't spared. One by one, they began to clutch their noses as blood trickled down, leaving them confused and shaken. Nobody could explain what was happening. But Amanda noticed a chilling pattern. Every time she cried or wished for justice, her tormentors seemed to pay the price. During lunch, David sat beside her again. His presence was the only comfort she had in a sea of hostility. "My grandmother had the gift," he told her in a low voice, passing her yet another sachet of water. "She could speak things into existence. But she always warned me, this kind of power is dangerous if it's fueled by anger or pain. It can get out of control." Amanda froze, clutching the sachet tightly in her hands. Could her wishes, her pain, truly be behind all this? And if so, what did it mean for her? But she didn't have much time to dwell on the thought. Langi and Amora weren't done. They had enlisted the help of Bola, a notorious senior student known for her ruthless bullying. Amanda overheard their plans as she passed by the lockers. "You think you're so special?" Langi hissed, cornering Amanda after school. "On your knees," Bola demanded, shoving Amanda down with a force that sent her stumbling. "Start crying for us." The rain pattered against the windows, mirroring the tremble in Amanda's chest. Bola slapped her, the sting sharp against her cheek. "Not enough tears." Langi hissed, grabbing Amanda's hair and yanking it cruelly. "Maybe we need to help you along." They dragged her outside into the schoolyard, where the cold rain soaked through her uniform. The ground was slippery, muddy, and unforgiving beneath her knees as they pushed her back and forth. "Feel the bow," Amora ordered, kicking it at Amanda, making her sleep again. Amanda knelt there, rainwater mixing with her tears as she clutched the metal bowl. All the humiliation, all the pain from days of torment, boiled beneath her surface. She shivered, her heart pounding, but deep inside, something began to stir. "Please," Amanda whispered, her voice quivering. "Just stop." "Oh, listen to her," Bola mocked, leaning closer. "The little princess is begging. Cry harder." Then, it happened. Amanda felt it first, a strange, spreading warmth deep inside her chest, radiating outward despite the chill of the rain. All the anger, the sadness, and the exhaustion she'd buried suddenly felt sharp and clear. She stopped shaking. Amanda stood slowly, her soaked figure drawing their mocking laughter to an abrupt halt. Her eyes met each of theirs, her voice calm but heavy with meaning. "I wish," she began, her words cutting through the sound of the rain, "that you could feel everything you've done to me. Every tear, every pain, every moment of fear. Let it all come back to you." Her words carried on the wind, the rain seeming to hush in their wake. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the storm grew louder, its wind swirling around them. Bola suddenly screamed, clutching her face as if it burned. "What is this? My eyes, they are on fire." Langi collapsed to the ground, her body convulsing as uncontrollable tremors overtook her. Amora gasped, clutching her throat and falling to her knees, struggling for air as if an unseen weight bore down on her. "What's happening?" Bola shouted, her voice cracking as she stumbled blindly. Amanda stood still, rain pouring over her, watching as her tormentors experienced the helplessness they had so often forced upon her. She didn't fully understand how, but somehow, her words had become real. That night, Amanda sat quietly in her room, staring at her diary. Ambulances had come to take the girls away, their cries of panic echoing in her ears. She flipped through the pages, her heart heavy. Every time she had written about wanting them to understand her pain, something had happened. David's note was on her desk, next to yet another sachet of water. She read the words again carefully. Asterisk words have power. Use them wisely. Asterisk. For the first time, Amanda realized the truth. Whatever was happening to her, it wasn't just about her pain, it was about what she chose to do with it. And she knew she needed to be careful. From now on, every word she spoke or wrote carried a weight she couldn't ignore. The next morning, Prince Memorial High was abuzz with unsettling news about Simi's group. One by one, strange things were happening to them. Bola had been rushed to the hospital with a severe eye infection. The doctor said it was triggered by stress, though Bola had apparently been hiding an underlying condition for some time. Langi's hands wouldn't stop trembling. Her doctor called it a nervous condition, brought on by intense anxiety and guilt. Amora, meanwhile, was battling sudden panic attacks that left her gasping for breath. The school nurse believed it was stress-induced. Amanda sat quietly in class, her thoughts swirling as she listened to the whispers around her. During the break, David approached her with another sachet of water. "You know," he said gently, sitting beside her, "sometimes when people hurt others, it has a way of catching up to them. Strange how that works, isn't it?" Amanda looked at him, her voice low. "I never wanted them to get sick. I just wanted them to stop." The murmurs in the school grew louder during lunch. Simi's condition had worsened. Her migraines were now so severe that she was hallucinating, reliving all the hurtful things she'd ever said or done. That afternoon, Amanda felt compelled to visit the hospital. She needed to see for herself what had become of her tormentors. Standing by the window outside their ward, she saw them. Bola lay in her hospital bed, her eyes swollen and red. She looked lost in pain, the same kind of pain Amanda had carried for so long. Langi was seated with a notebook in front of her, struggling to write. Her trembling hands wouldn't let her grip the pen steadily, a cruel echo of the time they had laughed at Amanda's shaky hands as she tried to gather her ruined notes. Amora sat with a nurse beside her, clutching her chest as she fought to breathe. The sight reminded Amanda of her own breathless panic after countless humiliations. As Amanda left the hospital, she felt a strange heaviness in her chest. She had dreamed of justice, but now, watching them suffer, she found no joy in it. On the steps outside, she noticed a young girl sitting and crying. It was Langi's little sister. "My sister can't stop shaking," the girl sobbed. "The doctor said it's from stress and guilt." I've never seen her like this before. Amanda hesitated, unsure of what to say. She realized something she hadn't considered before: even bullies carried their own struggles, their own pain. Hurting them back wouldn't erase what they had done, or fix what she had endured. Walking home, Amanda thought about everything that had happened. Could this really all be just a coincidence? Or had her pain somehow reached out and touched them, like a ripple in water? Later that night, lying in bed, Amanda stared at the ceiling. The thought that her wishes might have caused this made her uneasy. She didn't want revenge, she wanted peace. But where was the line between justice and cruelty? As she drifted to sleep, a thought lingered in her mind: if her pain could touch others, maybe she could use it to heal instead of hurt. A week after the hospital visits, Amanda walked into class to find something strange. On her desk sat several sachets of water, not just from David this time, but from other classmates too. Word had spread about how she always gave water to those in need. Then Langi's sister approached her during break. "I heard you," she said quietly. "That day in the rain. I was hiding behind the science block when they were bullying you. I heard what you said, and I saw what happened after." Amanda's heart skipped a beat. "Every word you spoke came true," the girl continued. "The burning eyes, the shaking, the breathing problems, you wished it all on them. And now?" She held up her own trembling hands. Before Amanda could respond, a message came: the bullies wanted to see her at the hospital. When Amanda arrived, she found all four of them in Simi's room. They looked different now, humbled, afraid. "We know it was you," Simi said, her voice shaking. "We've been having the same dream every night since it happened. We hear your voice in the rain, your words, and then the pain starts. Each of us feels exactly what we did to you," Bola added, her bandaged eyes turning toward Amanda's voice. "Every cruel word we said echoes in our heads. Every push, every shove, we feel it all. Please," Langi begged, her hands trembling violently. "Make it stop. We are sorry. We are truly sorry." Amanda looked at them, really looked at them. These girls who had seemed so powerful, so cruel, now reduced to begging. Just like she had begged them to stop. "I didn't know I had this power," Amanda said softly. "I didn't know my words could." "But you have it," Amora interrupted, between labored breaths. "David's grandmother, she had it too. The power of the tongue. He told us everything." Suddenly, it all made sense: why David had kept giving her water, why he'd warned her about her words having power. Amanda took a deep breath and spoke carefully, knowing now that her words carried weight. "I forgive you," she said. "Not because you deserve it, but because holding on to hate only creates more pain. Let the hurt end here." As she spoke these words, something shifted in the room. Langi's hands steadied slightly. Bola's eyes stopped burning. Amora's breathing eased. "But remember this," Amanda continued, her voice firm. "Every word we speak has power, to hurt or to heal. Choose carefully what you do with yours." In the days that followed, the girls slowly recovered. Their ailments didn't disappear completely, perhaps as a reminder of what they'd done, but they became manageable. They never bullied anyone again. And Amanda? She kept the sachets of water on her desk as a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we have a choice to use our words as weapons or as healing. Years later, students at Prince Memorial High will still tell stories about the new girl whose words could shape reality. But more importantly, they learn to be careful with their own words, never knowing who might have the power to make their cruelty come back to haunt them. The story of Amanda teaches us that words are powerful tools. They can hurt, heal, destroy, or transform lives, depending on how we use them. It's a reminder to always choose our words carefully, understanding their impact on others and ourselves. It also highlights the importance of forgiveness and self-awareness. Holding on to anger or seeking revenge only perpetuates pain, but choosing forgiveness can lead to healing and growth for everyone involved. Finally, the story shows that even in the face of adversity, kindness and resilience have the power to inspire change. Thank you for watching this journey with Amanda and the lessons she learned along the way. If you enjoyed this story and believe its message can inspire others, please like, share, and subscribe to help us spread positivity and meaningful content. Your support means the world to us, and we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What did you take away from Amanda's story? Let's keep the conversation going. Stay kind, stay inspired, and remember, your words can change the world.